What's going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday and welcome back for another week of the Ryan Ripken Show. It is May 6th as well. And look, here's what we have on the docket here today. There's been a lot of kind of news around Baltimore. We're going to talk in different phases, but the Baltimore Ravens finally made a move. Justin Tucker been released. I don't think that was a surprise, but obviously there is some backlash on maybe the wording or what it kind of means. We'll get into all of that. But specifically when it comes to the Baltimore Orioles, a national analyst talked about how he thinks Brandon Hyde's time in Baltimore should come to an end. We'll talk about that clip and react on the other side, as Jim Bowden talked about that on Foul Territory yesterday. And then because we're looking at what could have been and who could have been a good fit, I think Zach and I are going to take a little bit of a reset here and check out the last month plus and who has been some of the best free agent signings so far in baseball. Some of the names might surprise you. And for the breakdown for today, well, how about the kid, Jackson Holliday, coming off a huge game on Sunday, and what's been working for him and how he can continue to grow and develop here in the big leagues. And for those that don't know who's in studio with me today, Ollie is underneath. You're not really going to see him throughout the portion of the show, but you will see Zach Bollinger behind the sticks.
Back. I just realized I have to adjust the camera because Kevin was here last and feel a little, I got to go down a bit, but good to be back here. Good to be back. Disappointing because like you said, Jackson Holliday should be the talk of the Baltimore Orioles right now, turning around, but everything else seems to be taking the forefront of the conversation. Happens when you're struggling, but a lot to talk about today. And Orioles aren't the only team struggling. Orioles aren't the only team struggling. So a lot to talk about, that's for sure.
No, they're not the only team struggling at all. So many teams, actually, specifically in the American League East as a whole, has kind of been funky. And we'll dive into that. It hasn't been as strong, at least record-wise, as in comparison to some other divisions. But nonetheless, the Orioles are in the cellars, but they are not one of the only disappointing teams so far as we are on May 6th. We are going to have Glenn Clark of Glenn Clark Radio and Press Box joining us at 3 p.m. to talk about the Orioles and Justin Tucker. And, apparently Glenn's a good Pop-A-Shot player. Well, we were supposed to have a game on that, by the way. Years ago, Zach, Glenn and I did an interview when I was playing for the Frederick Keys. We talked about having a Pop-A-Shot game. We might have to make that happen here.
We got one
in the future. You're here with me tomorrow, though, correct?
Yeah,
on Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, the reason why I bring that up is because we're going to have to settle who is going to be doing our fitness challenge, which this episode in the fitness challenge is brought to you by our friends over at Merit Clubs. And guys, the pool is opening, not just in Canton, but all around here in the next week or so. And we're still giving out 2 weeks free at Merit Clubs. And you can see the code is RIP25. I will put the link in the chat for you all. So if you're in Baltimore, you're in the Maryland region, we're all about people helping people. And if you want 2 weeks free on us, click that link and use the code RIP25. And when I move, you move, Zach.
Just like that.
Just like that. All right, let's move right into this, okay? So I think the first conversation, and we'll dive into it a little bit later, Justin Tucker released by the Baltimore Ravens. Zach, there's no shock to me that this is where it was going. The timing of it might have been what people were waiting on. Were you going to wait for the investigation to be over? Were you going to wait for the NFL to come out and talk about their findings? I think the other part is that at least has gotten headlines was the Ravens statement around it. And I kind of want to just debunk this a little bit.
Yeah.
Or not debunk it, but let's just have a conversation. On the side of the business, the Ravens said it was a football decision of why they let Tucker go. Zach, it's more than just that.
Yeah.
It's way more than that. We're not gonna beat around the bush on that. Even though it was a career worst, and Tucker was one of the worst kickers last year, but you're still buying he's one of the greatest kickers, if not the greatest of all time. Mm-hmm. But the Ravens statement came out and said it was strictly a football decision. And that kind of bothered people because they're saying, why don't you just come out and say, well, there's impending investigations. Are you being insensitive to the other counts that are out there? I think what the Ravens did, Zach, when people might not like it or not, they're being very smart with their word choice because there is an investigation going on. And if anything were to change, them as well as the NFL could get involved in a process here that we have seen can get very messy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 1000% they worded it to protect themselves as a football team and the NFL as an organization. Because if it comes out, I think the investigation's still going on. They were going to wait for, the investigation to conclude. I'm going to be honest. I think they saw Tyler Loop and were like, hell, kid looks good. And they decided, hey, we're going to move on. And, all of that. And they put it's a football decision because if they say, hey, we're cutting him because of this, and then investigation concludes and something comes out that, oh, he's good, then all of a sudden, legal action, lawsuits, stuff like that. We've seen, I mean, hell, we saw with Earl Thomas, I mean, on a much
different
note, much weirder note, but it's something that happens a lot. So by them saying, hey, this is football, it's over. It's no longer, oh, well, if something comes back, they, could get penalized. They could do this. They could do that. Oh, they get more cap. No, they said, okay, this was a post June 1st football decision. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure once everything comes out, maybe they'll make a statement about, something. But yeah, I don't look too far into this thinking that they're trying to beat around the bush. I think it was more just covering themselves of like, hey, we're releasing him because we think we have a better kicker.
Yeah. And the reality is too, when people want to say, hey, just say it how it is. In the business sense and around the world, we know that's just not how it works. You go out there and you make a claim and you do something before everything is wrapped up. It puts you in a possibly challenging situation. And we've seen it countless times beforehand. One case, by the way, that was again, different case. And I'm not saying we're going to see how it all plays out. And I'm sure, Zach, making this decision, they probably have more information than the public has.
Yeah.
About what's happening, and that probably went into this decision, and you don't have to put 2 and 2 together there. But who was that kicker, the punter, a few years back?
Ariza.
Mm-hmm. And that was a very public case where all of a sudden he was cut. And was it the Buffalo Bills drafted him? I'm not mistaken. Was the team?
Bills drafted him.
Gone. And it was a serious situation, and then it turned out that he was wrongfully accused, and then obviously got a chance. He's with the Chiefs now, I believe, right? So it's just covering the tracks, but what we do know, if we're going to stay on this case, it is an end of an era in Baltimore for a kicker that before all of this, the reputation was he was going to be the greatest kicker and one of the greatest Ravens. Yeah. And now, unfortunately, that's not what's being talked about at the moment. And now a new kicker's coming in, which I'm excited for him. It's a great opportunity, but damn, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him in Tyler Loop. And hopefully, honestly, it's all going to be down to Nick Moore. If Nick Moore doesn't make him comfortable and doesn't have a good snap, nothing else is going to matter. So, Nick, it's on you, buddy.
All on Nick. I'm excited to see Tyler Loop, though. I mean, kid's got a leg. Kid's got a
boot.
So I'm excited to see that. It's obviously going to be weird, that first kick, when you're like, it's not number 9 back there. But, and I just have to put it out on Twitter. I know some people agree, some people don't. I wholeheartly am against Tyler Loop wearing number 33.
Oh, I can't get a switch kick. It.
Well, I get it. I've seen that. I know. I get the idea. I just can't get past, like, a kicker wearing 33 is just something I just don't. It doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, we should go through all the numbers of kickers. Yeah. And see. 33 is definitely different. It's not 46, which that's a common long snapper number like Nick Moore. And you know what? Again, Nick, it's on you. Come back on the show and talk to us how you're going to help a young rookie kicker. They say it starts up front.
If only we had somebody who could
talk about this.
Who could talk about, what it's like to be in that special teams room and get a new guy in there. maybe a young guy, like, it would really be nice if he had experience where like a few years ago they got a rookie punter in there that he had to work with or something. And then now, going through it again, different thing. It would be nice if we had someone like that, but maybe one day.
Yeah, I mean, and hopefully that's that person that we're talking about, can just handle pressure.
Yeah.
There's been things murmuring about him that he likes to golf. The SEC is not as good as it used to be, especially in football.
Yeah.
And, helping young kickers. But I digress. That's really the only big news around the Ravens. The other news in football, the NFL draft is coming to the region. How about that? DC 2027. I mean, again, it would have been cool in Baltimore, but I'll be honest. Down in DC at the National Mall, they're going to do it up well. No doubt about it. And they're trying to push for $1 million. I think the record was around 750,000 in Detroit. Mm-hmm. So they're saying they're going to project 1 million people making it to DC.
I know people are upset, like it should have been in Baltimore. It's right there. Like, I get it if it's like, people, if they wanted it in Baltimore and then, next year it's in Pittsburgh. I get at that point, it's like, I'm not driving 4.5 hours to go to the draft. This, you can hop on the metro. You can hop in your car. It's, depending on traffic, it's like an hour down the road. If you want to go to the draft, it being in downtown Baltimore being a 25-minute drive from most people, or it being in DC and being a 45-minute drive for people, like that's not. I don't think that. I consider this as the NFL draft is coming to the region in the next 2 years. I'll be there. I mean, like, just because it's 20 minutes, it being in here versus DC isn't going to.
It's a day trip.
Yeah,
it's a day trip if you're in the region. It's a day trip, and how many times are you going to say, "Hey, I don't have to spend money on airfare.
Yeah,
I can go down." And the sights are beautiful down there, by the way. And the monuments, I think we underestimate that. It's pretty damn cool. I was just walking around there this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm like, the Jefferson, that's pretty neat. Oh, wow. Look at all of these things here. And that the nation's capital is literally I'm going to say less than an hour. If you're on that Baltimore, Washington Parkway. And I've done it a lot. Over the time. It's not, who am I sugarcoating this? It sucks. The Baltimore Washington Parkway might be the worst stretch of pavement. I know people in LA have a different opinion. That part stinks. But you know what's not going to stink is that the Commanders should be good the next couple of years. So should the Baltimore Ravens. The atmosphere, and as you've seen that, and I just watched it in Green Bay when they announced Golden getting picked in the first round and the crowd erupts. I see the Ravens flock balling out there, and I see the Commanders faithful there having a good time. So I'm excited. 2 years, 2027. We're going to see that down in Washington. So those are the two big news points here. It's really kind of it for football. So we got there. We'll talk about it again with Glenn Clark in about 10, 15 minutes. But, Zach, why don't we take these next 10 minutes to talk about the Baltimore Orioles for a brief moment?
Yeah.
Okay. So the biggest conversation has been around, at least in this region, the Orioles are off to a rough start. And they had a tough series against Kansas City where actually starting pitching was good. It was good, except for the final day it was okay. Gibson, I give him okay. Like the team had a shot. They had a shot on Sunday, but Sagano and Dean Kramer did their jobs. Dean, best outing of the year. But Jim Bowden went on foul territory yesterday, Zach, and he talked about, do the Orioles just need a new voice in Baltimore after 33 games? And he gave a pretty clear answer of what he would like to see. So let's play that clip for you guys.
A manager in the middle of the season, does it change anything? And what's the thought process from a GM standpoint of why would I make this change? Brandon Hyde's been through the low times. Now he's in the high times. He hasn't changed his message. He hasn't changed. So why would I want to make a change in the middle of the year?
Yeah, great question. And I'm going to give you my answer. My answer as a GM is I don't like firing a manager mid-season. But if I do, I always have to take the position is your team better do better after you make it, or it's on you. It's on you. If you make a change and you don't start winning and the team doesn't go in a better direction, then it's on the GM and it's not on the manager. There are some times where a different voice is needed. I had a very mediocre team that, was about a 500 team, and it was underperforming under Ray Knight, who was the manager at the time. And Ray Knight had our clubhouse very intense. They were very uptight. Pitchers were looking at him. If they'd go 2-0, they'd look in the dugout to see what his reaction was going to be like. And I didn't have a contending team, but I sat there and said, look, if I make a managerial change here, this team's going to do better. We're going to be more competitive. We're going to end the year on a positive note. I brought in Jack McKeon. I fired Ray Knight, and our team played over 500 the rest of the way, and it made a difference. So, again, I don't like in-season changes, but if you do it, it's got to make a difference. Now, when I look at Baltimore, and look, I've been vociferous. I've given you my opinion. Yeah, I would make a managerial change. And it's nothing against Brandon Hyde. He's taken them to the playoffs the last 2 years. I respect him. But I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like the fact that my young players aren't developing and getting better and living up to my expectations. And sometimes it takes a different voice to be able to make an impact. So, maybe Brandon Hyde loses this job and he gets the next job and does better. Look at all the Hall of Fame managers that got fired, right? Joe Torre, Jim Leland, Tony La Russa. They all lost jobs and they're Hall of Fame managers. Bobby Cox, same thing. He got fired, Hall of Famer. It's sometimes you just need a different voice. I don't like the direction of Baltimore, and I think change needs to be to.
So he thinks change needs to happen. So let's just play this game real quickly, okay? You want to let Hyde go, Zach? Here are the options. First year manager, then first managerial position in Major League Baseball, and Robertson Chirinos, who just a few years ago, was a player himself. And now we've seen that. Stephen Vogt, right? Yeah. Stephen Vogt went from being a player to a manager. Then what a lot of people want to see, put Buck Britton there. Buck's been a manager in the minor leagues. What I'm saying right now is you're going to have inexperience from what you choose. This isn't like the Toronto Blue Jays where you have John Schneider and you have Don Mattingly if you let John Schneider go. You can go around baseball and look at guys that have been around and that can fill that position from a veteran standpoint. So there is a risk involved. But quite frankly, and I'm looking at this, on May 6th, as we're recording this, Zach, I still think it's premature to make any of those types of moves. Why? We're looking at the starting rotation. Hopefully you're seeing it round in the course here in May, but if they continue to underperform, the team's going to be in a tough position. I want to see if this lineup now of guys like Adley gets going, Jackson Holliday, who will break down here in a little bit, he gets going, and Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Westbrook comes back, and they have a favorable month of May. Zach, I think we got to get through this month. We got to see what's going to happen here. And then you get to end of May, and the team is doing well or not doing well, we can start to have more of a discourse. But after 33 games and really trying to say, a guy that's led the Orioles to the playoffs 2 years in a row and has had a winning season for 3 years, and this isn't me defending Brandon Hyde, Zach, in the sense that I like all of his decisions or the lineup changes. That's not what I'm saying. But I think you really have to think about what you're doing if you make a move like this right now, especially with who they have on their schedule here the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, May is the make or break month for the Baltimore Orioles. If by the end of May they're still sitting 6-7 games below 500, I think you have to make a move. If you're anywhere below that, you without a doubt have to make a move. If you end May 10 games below 500, at that point, it's just, I would just see what else can happen. I agree with what Jim said. If you make the move, you have to be sure that something positive is going to happen, because if not, then you're done. If Elias fires Hyde and then they all of a sudden drop even worse, it gets even more, the water gets even more murky. So listen, I agree with everything Jim said about, especially with player development. I do not like the way that they're trending with player development. I think that they are sitting there not allowing guys to get to their full potential. I think Jackson Holliday, he should never be out of the lineup. He should be starting 140 games minimum for Jackson Holliday. I don't care if it's a lefty. I don't care reverse splits. I don't care about any of that. He should be, I don't care that we need to keep Jorge Mateo from getting stale. He can play somewhere else. We can DH Gunner one day and put Jorge. There are ways to get Jorge in the lineup without benching Jackson Holiday every other day. I agree with that. I just think there's so many different things that at this point, the way that they are trending, if they do not turn this around and get back to like competitive in 500 by the end of May, they might just have, they're probably going to have to make a move or some sort of change somewhere. I mean, we've already seen the Rangers just fired their pitching or hitting coaches the other day. So, it is not, teams are starting to kind of get to that point where they're like, okay, this might be who we are. So we're seeing teams start to make moves. But I think it is at this point where right now, if the Baltimore Orioles continue on this trend through most of May, then yeah, I don't see another option. They're going to have to figure something out to try to get a new voice in there somehow.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to say. On this May 6th, no. Because it's a huge gamble, especially when you're looking at what the Orioles have gone through. And also, Zach, I'm going to reiterate, I do not agree with everything Brandon Hyde does. I've talked to you about this. You and I have talked about this. And this is what I'm going to say in the breakdown, I'm glad that Jackson stayed so hot from Friday night to Sunday and he sat in between against the lefty. That bothers me because when a guy's swinging it well, I want to see him stay in there. The other part, though, then that I can't put on Hyde, and this is where the offseason, if we're saying this, if your starters don't do well, you're in a damn bind from the jump. So what do you want Hyde to do? Hey, this is your lineup for your starters. And if they're not going 5 or 6 innings, you're in a hole, right? Everything else, you want to talk about lineups, you want to talk about playing matchups, sure, go ahead. It starts with the starting pitching, and then it starts with your all-stars going out there and hitting. We can talk about runners in scoring position and philosophies all day, and we know that isn't good, right? But the bigger concern for me is for an offense of talented players isn't performing. So is that part on the manager? Or is that part on just the players? As a guy being a player, and they'll tell you the same thing, if they don't go out there and hit, they know that they're costing someone else their job. So I think that the Orioles players are going, damn, we're better than this. And then the reality sets in. If the Orioles players don't play well in May, Zach, and the team is 15 games under 500, then yeah, you're going to move in a different direction. But I just caution right now, 7 games under, 5 games out. It's not like the Yankees are running away with this thing. Nobody in the American League East is running away with this. So it's a moment here over the next 3 weeks that are going to be so vital for the team is, can you gain momentum? And if you can, then we can table this conversation and you go. And we talked about it, Zach. This is the reality too. If the Orioles don't win in the playoffs this year, or they don't get there, you're going to see changes. I can guarantee you that. You're going to see changes. I'd also make one more point here, Zach. If Freddie Gonzalez was still here, I would have a little bit of a different opinion about what the leash would be. Because why? Freddie Gonzalez has been around for a while. Freddie Gonzalez has been around a big league team. He's had success elsewhere. As much as I love the concept of an up-and-coming team, go look around Major League Baseball and some other rosters. Besides the Guardians, who did the Padres bring in 2 years ago? A coach that's been around forever in Mike Schilt. A veteran. I think a veteran presence would help a team right now that's young, that has been around and maybe brings that old school feeling back, because I think that's what part of the team needs. Go to work, show up. Here's our lineup. It's set. Now go out and win the damn game.
Yep.
And I think that's something that we're going to have to see down the stretch. And we're going to find this out. But for right now, Birdland, let's see what happens here over the next 15 games. And then we're going to have a good sample size on what we're going to do. Zach, final words?
Yeah, someone's going to have to change fast. If they're going to want, because these seat only gets hotter. The only way to cool that seat down is if you, at the end of May, the Orioles find themselves 2-3 games over 500 and they're back in contention and they're, fighting for wild card spots, that thing. Then, then maybe the rumors. If you're under 500, as long as they're under 500, as long as they can't win 3 games in a row, as long as they struggle to win 2 games in a row, as long as They have top prospects that sit on the bench. As long as the lineup looks like it gets reversed and put into a random simulator every night, as long as that stuff's still happening and they're still losing, the rumors aren't going away. And I think more and more national media, it's slowly picking up, because before, 2 weeks ago, it was in Baltimore. It was, hey, should the seat be hot? Now it's a national story of what the hell's happening in Baltimore. So I think outside pressure is only going to get worse if they are unable. Winning cures everything. You go on I'm telling you right now, Orioles somehow go on a 10-game win streak right now, we're not talking about firing Brandon Hyde.
Nope. And here's the case for the Baltimore Orioles. Their next opponents, they have 6 against the Twins, 3 against the Angels, 3 against the Nats. All those teams do not have a winning record at this moment in time. So they have a chance here to move forward. And even the Milwaukee Brewers sit at 18-18 on the season. We'll talk a little bit more about the Orioles and all of that in the upcoming hour. But now, finally have a flip the script here, where a guest has joined us next, where I've been bothering him on his show. Now it feels like for years. Now he can come and bother me on the Ryan Ripken show. You hear him on Press Box Online. You've heard him on 105.7. Let's bring on my friend and yours, Mr. Glenn Clark. Glenn.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
How are you doing?
Boy, nice fun day to come on the Ryan, to make my inaugural appearance on the Ryan Ripken show, talking about firing managers, talking about Justin Tucker. Just a real, a hootenanny to be stepping in on today.
I mean, we picked a great day to make this happen. Yeah. Hey, maybe to lighten the mood a little bit, what do we got behind your setup right there? I see some Orioles heads. We got
I've got that never. I don't know when Never Lose Ever started. When did that start? I just started tweeting it after games, like in 2014 maybe, and it just sort of became a fun thing in the earlier days of social media. And then we added on man of the match. Man of the match is my favorite phrase in all of sports. People don't know that. Like, it's a soccer thing. Yeah. But I love taking soccer terminology and putting into other sports. Like, I love referring to someone who scores 2 goals in a lacrosse game as having a brace. Like, I love decision day on the final day of the regular season. Soccer has the best terminology in all of sports. I stand by it. And man of the match, just the player of the game, is one of my favorites. So we always pick a man of the match after every win, and there they all are. We put them up on the board. It was Dean the last time they won a game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
On Friday night. So Dino's still right there. And that's we have fun with that. That's part of the deal, man.
Don't lose forever.
Never lose ever. Never lose ever under any circumstances. Unfortunately, they haven't lived up to that this year.
Never lose ever. Don't lose forever. Same thing, but kind of the opposite, to be honest here, Glenn. Where do we start with all this? Where do we start? It's been interesting. And you know what, too? It's been just poured earlier in Baltimore, so it just kind of feels like it's when it rains, it pours a little bit.
Super weak. Everybody at Pimlico is really happy that the Kentucky Derby winner isn't going to show up for the Preakness. Just all sorts of great, fun news to talk about today. Man, this should be a great time. Tell me, bud.
Okay, you know what? Actually, to finish out the quick thought, because you brought up soccer terms, clean sheet. That's another good phrase.
It's perfect. How much better is that than shutout? They have all of the best terminology in soccer.
Okay, so we got to, for
the table. How much better is table than standings?
Oh,
no offense to standings. Table is a 10. Standings is meh.
See, this is what we really need to pick up the mood here.
It's so much better to talk about this. Let's just keep doing this. Let's talk about great soccer terminology for 30. Our friend, our buddy Steve Johnson, we text each other all hours of the night, just random rules things, because it's just more I got a text from our pal Steve last night at midnight, laying out for me a rules scenario. Hang on. He said, just found out a new wild baseball rule. Bases loaded, 3-2 count. 2 outs. Guy steals home, crosses the plate, and gets hit by the ball on its way to the plate. Runner is out for interference. This is just a text that our friend sent me at 11:32 last night, because that's what we do to lift each other's spirits, is we send nerdy things to each other that we just learned about rules. It's so much better than talking about anything related to the fact that, they can't get anybody out and they gave up 87 home runs when I paid $500 to have my kids go to the baseball game with me on Sunday.
Hey, but you got the
Got
bobblehead.
bobbleheads. Got the bobbleheads. Oh, there'll be 2 of them going up on eBay this week. That no offense. Like I'll respect. The kids get to keep theirs. The parents are going up on eBay because I got the real last minute. I didn't get to hit anybody up to ask for tickets. I didn't try to play any of my cards. I didn't do anything like that. Just found out Sunday morning that my wife wanted me to take the boys to the game. And so those 2 bobbleheads are going to go to fund our trip to the baseball game on Sunday because there had to be popcorn and there had to be pretzels and there had to be more and more and more. But hey, at least they saw a record of solo home runs given.
A memory that they won't forget. And you can't put a price on happiness, on children's happiness, or you
like
could
that.
put $500.
Yeah, there was a price. Right? There was
the price. Hey, Glenn, I guess in this case, let's talk about it. It's like rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
The price was paid then, at least, for the Baltimore Ravens and Justin Tucker. It's over. It's done. After 13 years in Baltimore, there's going to be a new era. Tyler Loop looks like he's going to get the first crack to be the Ravens kicker. Obviously, new kicker, just drafted. I kind of want your take on this because we talked about this to start off the show. People were a little bit caught up with the phrasing by the Ravens that they didn't address things. They kind of kept it more to we're moving on, football decision. Personally, I think they're trying to cover their tracks and stay out of it until the NFL investigation comes down and drops more information, which we think will be pretty substantial. But your overall take of how the last 24 hours has played out.
I said this on Twitter last night, and I was a little surprised by all the engagement it got because it's essentially saying nothing. But I'm just going to read it, Ryan. The tweet said, the Justin Tucker thing is far more detailed and complicated than social media or even sports radio. It's a sad end for a beloved civic figure, but of course, a seemingly deserved and self-inflicted, albeit delayed, sad end. We live in a society of takes and engagement farming, and I understand why everyone wants to dunk on one particular aspect or whatever. And I'm not even telling, like, I know a lot of people got worked up at Mina Kimes and Dan Lebitard came out particularly aggressive towards the Ravens. I think your response is exactly right. We recognize that for legal reasons, the Ravens said what they said. But it also goes a step beyond that, which is it is okay for people in our city to have conflicting feelings. You would be what's the point of being a sports fan if you didn't have conflicting feelings about someone that was a truly beloved civic figure that went beyond just the fact that he was good at what he did? He was someone who went out of his way to constantly embrace this city and the fan base, invited fans to come out and kick with him in public parks over the years, did lots of wonderful things. If you were just able to completely flip that off and say, I'll never think of anything positive related to Justin Tucker again, you'd probably be a robot. Now, it's not okay to defend the actions either. It's not okay to say, well, Justin Tucker allegedly didn't do anything wrong. You can't do that. There is a fine line between those two things, but we are capable. We are nuanced people. I get it. It doesn't play on Twitter. It doesn't play on Blue Sky or Threads or the 700 other social media sites that I now have to be on in order to catch up with everybody. But it's not that simplistic. It's not. This is really complicated. The Ravens are making a calculated decision. I don't know. I've said this a couple times. The Ravens' history is what it is, and the people that want to lump this in with Ray Rice and that, like, they made mistakes, lots of mistakes when it came to how they handled the Ray Rice situation. There's no getting around that. That was a long time ago. I don't know what the Ravens knew when they knew it. They'll tell you they didn't know anything until we did.
Yeah.
I understand why some people find that particularly hard to believe, given the number of tweets that we found that involved the word Justin Tucker and massage parlors that date back years. I understand that. And if that story comes out in the coming months, that the Ravens knew more details of this 2, 3, 4 years ago and did everything they could to keep it under wraps, they will deserve every ounce of criticism that they will receive for that, if that's true. Today, we don't know that. I don't know how they would have handled it if Justin Tucker was still Justin Tucker, right? Like, I don't know what their thought process would be, right? Obviously, they just drafted Mike Green last week.
Yeah.
I don't know if Justin Tucker, if this 3 years ago all comes public and Justin Tucker is still at the height of what he's doing as an NFL kicker, I can't tell you how they would have handled it. But to your point, this is where we are. This is the decision they've made. I understand it. I get it. I think it's appropriate. I hope the Ravens will continue to publicly say and do the right things in terms of how they treat women and, sexual assault and things along those lines. But this is more complicated than anyone that wants to sum it up in the span of 140 or 280 characters.
Yeah, definitely cannot do that on social media. I've kind of given up trying to get thoughts out on social media specifically. That's why I kind of do it here, because I can talk more and I can ramble with the best of them, Glenn. But I'm glad you mentioned this. This isn't a simple circumstance. This isn't a player that was with the team for a year or 2 years and it was a blip in the road. This is a guy that before all of this came out was people's possibly favorite Raven. Had the most memories attached to him. He obviously had the memories attached to him with winning the last Super Bowl.
Yeah, the only player remaining from the last Super Bowl roster. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm right there with you on its fans, even if, it's like same thing now when you see, some of your favorite artists when you're a young kid and these things come out. Now, proven that these things come out and you go, well, I like those songs and maybe they had a meeting when they were younger, but then as different allegations or maybe being convicted of things, you're like, well, man, it changes your perception. But do you still like that song that was created years ago? That's for your interpretation. I think when all of it comes out, that will put it all to rest. But I do think, and Zach, I think you feel the same way. I think it feels better for Ravens fans that Justin did struggle last year, given all of this.
I think it feels better for the Ravens.
Oh my goodness!
Because like Glenn was just saying, imagine
there's an out. There's an out.
If Justin Tucker's 12 for 12 last year on field goals over 50, if he hits those big field goals against the Browns, against the Eagles, that guys people look back on. If he was Justin Tucker, he was kicking big game winners in the playoffs. I do think that it would have been much more interesting to see what they did. I think they're kind of happy that he struggled. They got a kicker that they liked in the draft a lot. They saw him, and then they were like, you know what? Let's just – I think kind of what we're saying, they feel comfortable. They're like, hey, we're releasing him for football, right. So that we're just done. We're done with it. We're not saying that this is because of investigation where then when things come out, people go back to, wait, why'd you release him because of this, and that? There's no more, potential for that. It's just straight up, hey, we released him because he missed kicks last year. That football reason. And they're able to.
And I think that there was a lot of it felt like they were being effusive in their praise. I didn't even think the statement, if you compared it to other Ravens statements over the years, even that was muted by their standards. It certainly was nothing like anything they sent out when they moved on from, Terrell Suggs or Haloti Ngata. They didn't do glowing tribute videos or anything like that, which is clear. They know, hey, this stuff I don't want to make this pun. They know there's something here. They know there is something to this story. And so they're not going to be more effusive. They acknowledged his accomplishments in Baltimore, and that's what they did. And he's not going to be in the Ring of Honor anytime soon. That's pretty clear. Unless somehow he's absolved of all of this, and that feels extraordinarily unlikely. Yeah. Could that day come one day down the road? Time does heal many wounds. Could there be more restitution on his part where he tries to do the right things for the people that he has allegedly wronged? We'll see how that all plays out. But I think dunking on the effusiveness yesterday, I didn't think it was effusive. I think they just simply listed the things that he had accomplished in Baltimore and moved on. I don't know. I don't think they did nothing yesterday suggested to me that they were diminishing the allegations that were made against Justin Tucker.
They kept it strictly to, we're letting him go. He had a lot of great memories in Baltimore. Hope the best for him and his family. And I think, like I said, I'm with that. People don't want to admit that part of it. it's still a business. Football teams, sports teams, they are a business. They have to be very, very careful and calculated on what they say. Hell, it's the same thing if you're a manager or a coach. And we even had Buck Showalter on the past, Glenn, and Buck even told a story about with Manny Machado, not in the sense of like anything's wrong, but just the idea of
was this to make it worth it? Like we'll have your back, but it better be worth it.
Yeah, but it better be worth it, and we'll back you up in the moment. There's so many things that go on behind the scenes when you say players and people keep it in house, because they're trying to keep that infrastructure and business up front. Now, when things come out, they will handle it. But if it's the other way around and you start blasting people left and right before the dust is settled and you put yourself in a position you can't come back from, then we'll find that out. But you're right. We're going to see what happens over the next few months. It definitely seems like that the NFL and the Ravens and a lot of people have a perception of where this is going. But truly, we're going to find out here.
And Ryan, we can reiterate. I think we can reiterate. If anyone involved with the Ravens worked to cover up these allegations against Justin Tucker in the last few years, they should pay a price for that. 1,000%. We can
they'll feel the heat, no doubt about it.
We should all say we can do both things. We can both acknowledge it is a complicated conversation without that coming off as us defending the allegations. And that's the line. The line is anyone who thinks Justin Tucker was just being a boy, like he was just doing things that dudes. If that's what you think, and I don't say this flippantly, you need to seek help. You do. You need to learn what is sexual assault, what's okay, what isn't. You need to go seek out those conversations. If we don't say that, then it's okay to talk about how complicated it is. I've shared a couple times. Justin Tucker, I got to know before a lot of people did in town. I was doing a show with Dennis Pitta, and Dennis introduced me to him and said, I think this kid's going to be special. I want to bring him out the first week of the season. I did a show with Dennis Pitta, and Justin Tucker, his rookie year, was the guest. And Justin has been very kind to me, my wife, my kids over the years. And that's real. Now, again, none of that washes out any of this. It doesn't. Like somebody's going to clip that and say, oh, Glenn's just saying nice things about Justin Tucker and diminishing. No, I can say both things. Both. I have those complicated feelings, and also the allegations against him are awful. It's not, but it's and.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You don't have to, the reality is with all this, you don't have to defend yourself on it. It's just, this is why this situation's become what it has become. We wouldn't even have this discussion if Justin didn't have the impact that he had previously in the community 100%. And what he had done on the football field. It's because of that you're having all these conversations, but it doesn't diminish anything in the seriousness of what's happening right now. So we'll see how it plays out, Glenn. And for the meantime, though, I hope the best for Tyler Loop and our friend earlier, Nick Moore. It's all on you, buddy, as a long snapper. Zach and I have already told him, Glenn. I said if Tyler gets off to a rough start, I'm just going to point at number 46.
It's your fault. Yeah, right.
It starts from him.
The Ravens have a pretty good history at kicker, although, it's easily forgotten that before Justin Tucker, they tried like the Steve Hauschka experiment. That didn't work out so well, although Steve ended up being a pretty good NFL kicker.
He did.
In the course of his career. If there's a position where you trust the Ravens, it's probably kicker, right? Like that's probably where you believe. And so it's a lot of pressure to put on a kid though, right? Like this is not, you can't miss 6 kicks and it's going to be okay. Like you miss some kicks at the beginning of your career, they're going to have to find somebody else because they want to win a Super Bowl next year. Like they don't have room to wait out a growing process with a young kicker. Like he's got to be ready to go immediately to start the season.
Yeah. Kicking is not a fun thing, Zach. It's not. I mean, even looking at it last year, want to go with the Ravens Bengals games specifically.
Mm-hmm.
The game in Cincinnati came down to one kicker missing a game-winning kick, and then Tucker had an easy chip shot, but Tucker also hit it
you want to talk about
from the
kicking,
same side. Oh my
kicking
goodness.
being the kick from the Bengals guy McPherson wasn't even his fault. It was a horrible snapper dropped it. But
that's why it's on Nick Moore.
And what do we all talk about? McPherson missed that kick. No one, as the time goes by, we all just sit there and go, well, McPherson missed that kick and then Tucker hit it so that they could win. No one talks about how, if a kicker misses, no one talks about, oh, it was a horrible snap. It's on the kicker.
Well, Zach, to your point, like the operation famously in the AFC Championship game in 2011 was rushed. Like they were late out onto the field and everything was forced. And
people forget about that. That video
it doesn't matter. You bring up Billy Cundiff's name in town, you're going to get middle fingers and curse words. Like that's the way that it works. Despite the fact that other than that one kick, he was really good in Baltimore.
I think people forget that
he was good in Baltimore until that moment.
People forget the shock, at least on a lot of people, when they announced like, "Oh, Tucker beat Cundiff." Everyone was like, "Oh, we're leaving Cundiff." Okay, because like you said, Glenn, besides that infamous kick, he was a damn good kicker for us.
He had a very good year, very good year, and then a little bit of the Ray Finkel situation, laces out. That ball missed by maybe 30 yards.
Yeah.
That might, but that's the point. It's the full operation, but the kicker gets the glory. The kicker gets the failures and the faults that come with it. So we'll see. I'm excited. Football's still 4 months away until we'll have the opener, roughly, give or take. But in the meantime, Glenn, we got a lot of baseball still. So before we let you go in a little bit here, we had a debate. I personally think May 6th, too much to make any choices and moves. You know me. I try to be more objective to it. But in your mind, if you're looking at the American League East, you're looking at the Baltimore Orioles. What is your timetable if they were to make a move and they had to make some changes? What's your leash here? We're 33 in. They have a string of now, if I'm looking at the rest of the month, they do not have a winning team the rest of the month currently, actually. I was looking at the Boston. Boston's 500. Milwaukee's 500. Every other team is below 500. I'm saying get through May and you make a more concise decision. Do you agree or disagree?
I've actually written a couple times, Ryan, to me, Memorial Day is the first day that you even think about it. Like you don't do anything like this before Memorial Day. It's not enough of a sample size to know what it is that you have. The way you were discussing it before, I mitigate like the history that a lot of these players have with Buck Britton. Maybe that matters in this conversation. But yeah, to the point, there isn't an obvious, like, here's the guy that we know could be a stabilizing force in a time of turmoil. That guy doesn't exist. I like Brandon Hyde. A lot of people give me crap about this. I like Brandon Hyde. I know everybody loses their mind about the lineups. I think the lineups, every conversation I've had, it's more about the overall organizational philosophy. And I don't think that another manager is going to dramatically change what the Orioles lineups look like. I think that there is a thought within this organization of what data matters and how we use that data. And that's how you end up getting a lot of the lineups that you get. And there's a belief that if you employ a player, that player has to play. And a lot of that is not unique to Baltimore. It's funny you reference Buck. Buck will talk about that a lot in what the job of a manager is these days. I have no bloodthirst to see Brandon Hyde lose his job. All that being said, I also recognize this is how baseball works. Like this is just the way that it goes, that if you get to a certain point and something's not working, the manager is the guy that goes. That's just the nature of the beast. And everybody involved in the sport understands that. And if it stays like this, if you're a sub 400 team into June, I could not possibly be surprised by that being something that ends up happening. Will it solve much? Tell me who's pitching, right? Like, tell me, are we seeing the Jackson Holiday that we've seen for the last week? Or are we seeing the Jackson Holiday that we saw last year? Are we seeing the Gunnar Henderson that we've seen for the last week? If those things, if we see that version of Gunnar, that version of Jackson, I don't think they're going to be a sub 400 baseball team. I do think that they will be better than this. I get it that it's a very low bar, but I don't know what any manager is supposed to do with this pitching situation. Like, I don't know who's making, chicken salad out of this. This is kind of what it is. And the data would suggest they're lucky to have the record they have, given the performances that they've gotten. So I get it. You're going to get there. If it stays like this, there's going to be a change. It's just inevitable. That's the nature of the sport. But I don't think it's the story of what the Orioles are. I don't think the story of the 2025 Orioles is puzzling lineups. I'm as confused as anybody as to why Charlie Morton went into a 2-run game on Sunday. Like I can't make sense of it. I think it's nuts, but that's not the story of what happened either. And it's not the reason why they're in the position that they're in.
And ironically, too, by the way, for the Charlie Morton coming in the 8th, which again, you could say different pitcher, whatnot. The part that people aren't even talking about is Charlie got the first 2 guys out. And it was 2 outs, no one on, and fell behind 3-1 to the 9 hitter, who then gets a hit. And then you have a chance against Jonathan India to put him away, where he was really late on the fastball, and then you throw 2 curveballs. That could get on the pitch selection for a different time. But point being, you're right. The pitching is what you have right now is what you have. If Dean Kramer, Sagano, Povich, and Eflin comes back and your group starts to give you some more innings, the Orioles are going to be in better position. If your stars that start to hit again are your stars that hit like they should, the Orioles are going to win more games, runners in scoring position issues or not. They're too talented of hitters to be able to not play the way that they can. So I'm with you, Glenn. We're going to learn a lot here.
But Ryan, I can't assume any of that's happening. We have a large sample size now, right? Like we have 42 and 46 from last year, and now this is not a couple of weeks. So
I agree. I think my point of where I was saying is, for your pitching rotation that you have what you have with them. If you get them going, and then on top of it, your position players and your team keeps losing, then we're going to be in a different circumstance. If your starting rotation continues to have struggles, your team is going to be playing from behind constantly. And I don't care how good your lineup is, it's going to have trouble. And then you can make a decision accordingly as it goes. But yeah, people want to find a reason and a scapegoat. There's a lot of different things that have happened so far for the Baltimore.
I've said it a lot, Ryan. We're boring in that way. What we have is fire somebody. It really is boring to me. In the years that I've done sports radio, is the answer is always it's this: step 1, fire somebody; step 2, shoulder shrug; step 3, profit. Right? It doesn't work. It's not this simple. Is it possible that? Everybody likes to bring up the Phillies from a couple years ago. It's not as if there aren't examples. It's also possible that if you stay the course, you could be the Nationals from a few years ago, and the script could be flipped in the middle of the season. There's lots of track record or things you can fall back on and say, this has happened before. Right now, the Orioles aren't a very good baseball team. The longer they stay not being a very good baseball team, then everybody's got to look in the mirror. Everybody involved in the process is going to have to take their – and look, I know Mike Elias was on with the guys this morning and – acknowledging that his moves haven't worked out. He has to acknowledge that. Like they haven't. There's no getting around that. The Charlie Morton thing has been an unmitigated disaster to this point. Still, the Zach Eflin trade from last year was phenomenal. The Trevor Rogers trade,
it's been rough. And hey, I tell people this all the time, though, Glenn. And I saw there was another pitcher that just got shut down with a lat injury. Done for the year, lat injury. What did Trevor Rogers' injury stem from a couple of years ago? You want to take a guess, Glenn?
Oh, is it maybe a lat injury? Is
maybe
that possible?
Lat injury.
Might have something to do with the lat? Huh, weird.
I'm telling you, it is. I think it's starting to be figured out with people, but lat injuries are not the name that gets a lot of recognition, but damn, they can be really devastating to pitchers. And it takes a long time, and it can cause a lot of other situations. Tommy John, it's almost like, hey, here it is. We're going to
get through it.
On your way, get the surgery, and you do everything right. We'll see you back here. Lad, it's like, I hope you come back right. But what if
you might never be the same?
Or you might never be the same. So,
cool.
Hey, Glenn, we're going to have by the way, before I let you go, you remember when we talked about Papa Shot like 6 years
dude,
ago?
we've never done that still.
Well, guess what, dude? We have a Papa Shot in the studio now.
Oh, tell me when. I'll whoop your ass, man. Like, I have all the respect for you in the world as a hooper. I love you. You know that. You're my guy. You've always been my guy. Like, I just understand you're going to get your feelings hurt. You'll probably You could kick my ass in any number of things, right? Any number of things.
Okay.
It just so happens to be that this is the one that's the great equalizer for me. This, a Can Jam, strongly on Can Jam. Those two are the two that I'm incredibly confident in. But I love you, and I'm happy to come kick your ass whenever you want.
Okay, so now that we've got the studio rocking and rolling, and it's more enhanced now, and we have the Papa Shot. And shout out Deep Eddie, by the way, Deep Eddie Vodka. They're like, hey, you want a Papa Shot?
No, yeah, that'd be terrible. That sounds awful.
Terrible idea. Well, we got it rocking and rolling now, so we're gonna have it. We're gonna settle this down here once and for all.
Done.
And also, then for Glenn, for those that don't know you, where can they find all of your work, and where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, appreciate that. At Glenn Clark Radio is always 2 N's in Glenn. At Glenn Clark Radio on all socials. GlennClarkRadio.com, PressBoxOnline.com, PressBoxOnline.com/radio. I'm live every day from 10 to noon and popping up from time to time. And I don't know, maybe at some point radio again in the future. We'll see how it is. Just a little pause that we're taking at the moment. But Reed and I are still partners, and I think you'll be hearing something from us very soon. So appreciate everybody putting out good words. And if you need a Gunnar Henderson, Luke Skywalker bobblehead, please reach out. I'm just telling you right now, I'm not giving them away. This is not a charity thing. It cost me an awful lot of money to go to the baseball game on Sunday. I need that back.
Yeah, it was an It was a memory for your kids. Now you're trying to get compensated back for said memories for them.
I want to be able to give them more memories at some point in the future, right? Like,
take the bobbleheads, people, but pay for the bobbleheads.
That's the way it's going to work. That's the way it's going to work.
All right. Hey, Glenn, appreciate you, man. We're definitely going to have you on here, get you down here in person. And for everyone right there, it's at Glenn Clark Radio right there. Whammy. All right, Glenn, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Buddy. Zach, great to talk to you too, man. Thank you, guys.
See ya. Glenn Clark, everybody. You know what? I can always count on Glenn for a good time. I can always count on him to bring the spirits up and be very thoughtful with his also explanations. And if you're not following him, again, at Glenn Clark Radio on X, social medias, that's where people are still the most active, is still on X for the most part. We're actually active now everywhere, by the way, Zach. We're building it up on Instagram. Instagram's been humming for us. So we are excited about all that. But if you're new to the channel, though, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right here, roughly 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we have a lot more in store for you all. Every Wednesday, we're cooking with the Iron Rooster, cooking with Kyle. So that will be here live tomorrow. And Glenn mentioned something about, that the guys talked to Mike Elias on 105.7 in the morning. Maybe we'll have a even more exclusive with Mike Elias coming here soon. So stay tuned for that. That will be great. And also, you know what? I got to do a shout out, as always, from our channel members, because you guys have made this continue to grow for us. We appreciate Deep Eddie, Merrick Clubs. We'll get to our trip on the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races later on. But all of you guys have helped in the process of growing. So if you subscribe to the channel, if you're a Grips Good Kid or a Holy Shirts and Pants member, which for Holy Shirts and Pants members, I appreciate your patience. I have the little care package coming your way. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you. But all of that, being a member, helps us continue to grow what we're doing here. And hell, it's going to help me break down Jackson Holiday here in a moment. You guys helped us upgrade the studio. So thank you, people helping people. Hit that like and subscribe button. Zach, I think while I get this set up, we did talk about on a big part there of how Jackson Holiday, we'd like to see him in the lineup more. But you know what I love more than anything?
What's that?
Is that Jackson Holiday is freaking raking right now. The dude is seeing the ball well. And as I move over here, why don't you talk to the good people about what we're about to discuss?
Yeah. So gonna do a little Jackson Holiday breakdown, especially over his recent stretch. I believe it's up to 13 of the last 14 games he's gotten on base, has close to a 500.500 on base percentage. This is the Jackson Holiday that we've been expecting. This is the Jackson Holiday that we've been hoping for. And that honestly, the Jackson Holiday that when we look back at, when he was coming up, the number one prospect, when all this pressure was put on him, this is what we were hoping to see. This was the bounce back that you've kind of seen, not only, from other great players, but from Jackson Holiday. Every single level, he's had struggles at first. He's gotten comfortable, and then he goes and he takes off, and he becomes this ultra superstar. Last year, he got the amount of at-bats he needed. He started to get comfortable again, and he was getting back to kind of, I think, more in a groove towards the end of last season, but once again with inconsistent playing time. This season, he comes out pretty nice start. A nice first 5 games. He's gotten a few home runs, kind of got that swagger back to him. And you're like, okay, Jackson's going to take that next step. 0 for 17 streak. Not ideal. What Jackson has done over the last 15 games, 2 weeks, we can just put it in 2 weeks, is everything we've hoped to see from Jackson Holiday. The power's starting to come. A lot of singles right now, working the strike zone, getting a lot of walks. He's also playing Gold Glove second base, which is a very underrated aspect of everything going on. Is not only last year he was kind of struggling there, learning a new position. He is as comfortable as ever at second base right now. He's playing a Gold Glove-esque second base. And he's also right now probably behind Orion O'Hearn, probably your hottest batter. So Jackson Holiday has been incredible so far. And I would say pretty much everything that the Orioles would want right now. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it. And also, before we get right into it, Laura, thank you. Another 10 for the internet, people helping people. Thank you so much. And for everyone here, thank you for tuning in. Every week during the show, we do breakdowns. And right now, why don't we talk about Mr. Jackson Holiday? And when we say Mr. Jackson Holiday, it sounds like he's been around for a while. Well, guess what? He's still a young player, 21 years old, figuring it out. And you know what? What I would like to see is that you're seeing the development and the reason why he was the number 1 overall prospect and why he was taken with the first overall pick in the draft by the Baltimore Orioles. So right here, it's a sequence here. And I kind of want to explain this in a few ways, okay? So first thing is, and that looks good right there, Zach, whammy. So the thing here is Jackson, what I sometimes worried about was him trying to stay locked in when he had to sit for a day. That was first and foremost. But the one thing I love for him is the progression of his at-bats and how easy and fluid it's becoming. You're seeing a guy that is not trying to do too much, just trying to get a bat to the ball. So why don't we start off with this first hit for Jackson? This was on Friday night where the Orioles won the game, but Jackson's going to get a pitch inside right here. And what I love, he's going to be very smooth to the baseball, not trying to do too much, and he's going to hit a low line drive rocket into right field right here. And I even missed on that. But look at that inside. What I love and what we've seen in the past on pitches inside for Jackson, he had been one to pull off the ball, and that ball he would maybe roll over on. So you're seeing him stay through it. And I'll explain why he's staying through the baseball more here in just a few moments. But this next at bat, you're seeing a guy that's just missing it, but the misses look good. So I'll explain further here in a second. But you're going to see Jackson. It's going to be a hanging pitch over the middle part of the plate. And he's going to go, damn, I just had that right there. I just had it. And you can look at his face right there, a little disappointed. And this ball is going to continue to go. And whammy, it's a catch out of it, right? Okay? But it's a good miss. And what I mean by that is you can tell when a guy is feeling good by the way he is swinging it, how it's coming off the bat. That pop-up that he missed, he still hit that ball 100 miles an hour. He just got a little bit too under it on that cutter, slider, breaking ball pitch. So very fluid swing on the base hit to right. And one thing we're talking about, hey, can Jackson Holiday hit lefties? Well, yeah, he can hit lefties, specifically when he stays on the baseball and he sees it deeper into the strike zone and strike area. So Zerpa here, by the way, and if you guys remember, Zerpa last year was actually the pitcher that hit Colton Cowser on that infamous kind of strikeout situation with the bases loaded. He is an extremely hard lefty to pick up. But I know Jackson's seeing it well. It's going to be on this take right here. He's going to get a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. That's going to be right off the part of the plate. And Jackson easily takes it. And I'm going to rewind that for a quick second. Look at this real quickly. Okay? So if you're watching this, look at the front shoulder, the knee, everything's coiled in. So what I want you guys to understand is that when you're coiled in and you're staying closed, you have a chance to be fast. When your first movement opens up, your head moves and your bat gets slow. So for Jackson right here, shoulders in, legs in, seeing it really well, and he's able to stay on this lefty. And you know what that does then? It allows him, if he stays on this ball, and I know that this pitch, Zach, is going to be inside. But what I love for him is he's staying back, keeping his front side in, and he's thinking big part of the field, and that's why he's being able to be short to the baseball. He's going to hit a rocket past the shortstop here. Again, keeping it simple. I love it. Everything about what Jackson is doing, simple is better. Let the talent start to come through. And then you're going to see some other moments here, like this one. I'm cool with this swing. He's going to pop out to center field, but look, he's using the big part of the field. Yes, he just missed it. But the point being is, if you hit the ball where it's pitched and you're able to stay back, you're going to have better results. And Jackson Holliday is still going to get stronger, and he's still going to understand himself more. But he already is extremely talented and can do a lot of damage when he stays relaxed and keeps it simple. And you know what, right here? This was that game on Sunday, Zach. Pretty damn good game, if you ask me. And this ball, you're going to get a fastball in. And once again, fastball in, liftoff. And that's right on the black, by the way. So it's not a bad pitch. But Jackson last year, when there's a pitch inside or a pitch over the heart of the plate, front shoulder, head going off the baseball. Now you're looking at a guy, shoulder in, head's on it, very relaxed. And you know what? He's saying, I'm just trying to get the bat to the ball. And he does that. Ball goes a long way, and it comes out hot. Home run off the top of the wall right there. That was a laser beam. And Jackson Holliday is starting to show you why he was so on top of it. But you know another thing right here, what I'm more impressed with, Zach? You know how you know a hitter's seeing the ball well, too?
Oh.
How he takes the baseball and how he makes adjustments. So you know what I love right here? He hit this home run, the at-bat before, okay? So that was a heater. So Jackson's going, I'm going to be aggressive because I'm going to hunt the fastball. And Jackson's going to take a risk on a curveball here, and he's going to miss. All right? So what? I love it. You know what happens next then? Jackson is ready, and he adjusts. Watch this changeup tape. So the ball's going to end up over here, okay? Jackson is going to be so smooth. He's not jumpy, and he's going to spit on that, man. Like, that is an easy take for him. He's not jumpy. He's not out in front. He's relaxed. So he took a risk on the first pitch, saw that changeup great on the second. And now he goes, all right, I know I can hit Lorenzen's fastball. I already took him deep. Now he's going to hang this puppy. And man, I gotta rewind that again because I just love everything about it. Once again, shoulder in, leg in, very relaxed, very under control. And when he keeps himself relaxed and back, he allows his approach to be simple. He's going to get a hanging breaking ball. And he doesn't miss it. And he knew it from the start. Everyone in Birdland knew it from the start. So the point I want to make here, Jackson Holliday is a special player. And it's going to take time for him to reach what his potential could be. We don't know what it can be. But what you're seeing is a guy in a short amount of time, simple approaches can allow you to have success. And when you don't try to do too much and you let it come to you, you can hit the ball anywhere. And then when you're feeling really good, you can do what Jackson did the other day, leave the yard twice, and have a really good at bat off of one of the tougher lefties in baseball. And if he can continue to do that, you're going to see why the Orioles were so bullish on, hey, I'm not trading this guy. Jackson can be a face of a franchise and an all-star type player, and it's a long way to go. Using that phrase a lot here. But this guy has the makings of being a great player here for the Baltimore Orioles. And if you guys like this breakdown, hit that like and subscribe button and kick that door down, Zach. Hooah! And shimmy into it. We appreciate you guys, and let me know who we should break down next. It's been great to see.
Yeah, and something I wanted to bring up real fast is I saw this on Twitter earlier today, and it's a great point. Jackson Holliday would be a junior at Oklahoma State had he gone to college. You know, he is just 21 years old. I think because he's gotten close, I believe to 300 at bats now in the majors, that you kind of feel like, you know, because he started last year with the team, you know, it feels like people forget those 3 months that he was back down in Norfolk, not with the team. This is still his first full season in baseball. He is still he's not turning 22 until after the season, at least until October, I believe. This kid is young. This kid is just reaching his potential, not even close to reaching his potential. He's just scratching the surface. Also, I know someone, Dog Training Plus said, and this is the big thing that I love about Jackson Holliday was that take that you showed when it was like he's comfortable. He knows he's taking that. He's taken that a lot throughout of his career. Unfortunately, a lot of umps have thrown him out, you know, punched him out for it, where he's gotten the right call. He knows it's a ball. He takes it and it gets called. I'm glad he did get rewarded there, but you know, Jackson Holliday, this kid's special. I hope people understand when you combine the eye he has, you know, I think him being settled in at second base has been a bigger deal than people really talk about, because not having to learn to play a new position while you're also trying to learn to hit at the big leagues, it takes a very big mental toll on you.
Yeah, and look, I want to see him out there as much as possible, especially when he's swinging the bat well. But another reason why he had been hitting at the lower part of the order is to try to take more pressure off of him too. Try to get more comfortable with figuring out how to play a position and be a big league hitter. And now I think you're going to see the Jackson Holliday continue to get better and better. He's going to go through slumps. He's going to have his down moments. But right now, Zach, what I love is Jackson at the end of last year proved, hey, he was ready. But right now he's solidifying of going, no, I don't need any other reps anywhere else. I just got to go out there and play. And if I go out there and play, I'm going to figure it out sooner than later. And so far here through the first month plus of the season, Jackson Holliday starting to figure it out, the good and the bad of what comes with a full 162 game slate. And again, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right here on YouTube. We stream it live on X as well. But then we are all over the platforms, Instagram, X, at The Ryan Ripken Show, and the YouTube channel at Ryan Ripken Media. And when the Orioles are playing every night, go over to the Kevin and Zach Reacts channel after every Orioles game, post-game. Kevin and Zach will be on there to be with you for the wins, the losses, and everything in between. So, Zach, while we reset for a second here, and we get ready to talk about some of the best free agents, and on top of it, talk about, well, there's a hot story going on specifically around pitchers, and it's actually in New York is one of the topics with Devin Williams. And we talked with John Smoltz this past week to release the recent interview we just had released on Sunday night. Why don't we take a quick trip up to our friends at Hollywood Casino Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Ooh,
that was nice.
Whammy. Hey, guess what? Next month in June, end of June, we are going to be up there for a live show. We might have a couple guests lined up there, and we're going to have a dang good time up there, as we always do. And our friends at Hollywood Casino Charlestown Races, Zach, they did open the ESPN Sportsbook up there. We have not been successful with some of our picks that we've put in.
I blame Rocco.
I blame Rocco as well. It's very evident there. Hey, an over and under right here with the pen play. Did I get it up quick enough?
Under.
Oh, look at that right there.
Yep, there it is.
Right there. And if you bet online and get $100 in pen cash, you sign up for ESPN Bet, the app. You receive your first 50. You make a deposit to get your next 50, but you got to use the code 50PEN50 and be 21 or older. And if you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or Rocco DeSangro. You've been on a little bit of a stinker, Zach.
Yeah, the past three, I think, have been.
It hasn't been good, your picks.
No, we started off so hot, back-to-back successful home run calls, and now we're just.
It's very hard to watch.
It is. As
your friend.
It's been tough. It's been tough, but I think we're getting back today. We're going 2+ bases again.
Oh.
Freddie Freeman. Guy is hitting the cover off the ball.
He's locked in.
Has a .529 career batting average and a .765 slugging percentage versus Cal Control. I like it. I think, this is Freddie Freeman isn't getting enough hype so far. He's on another just incredible. He's just one of those consistent players where, unfortunately, in 20 years, people won't remember much about Freddie Freeman because he was just, unfortunately, the third guy behind Mookie and Shohei. And then he was never really, he was on that back end of when the Braves were good. He was, the Mr. Braves, it felt like. Then he goes to Freddie Freeman is one of the greatest players of this generation.
Mm-hmm.
This past 10 years, the past decade, there are not many first basemen better than Freddie Freeman. He's continuing to do it right now. I mean, he's just unreal. So we're going Freddie Freeman 2+ bases. Lock it in tonight.
Lock it in. I'm curious about, though, with this Orioles-Twins game. Orioles money lines +145 if you're feeling frisky here. Tough matchup, though, for the Birds as they face Pablo Lopez, the projected starter. So you want me to jump in on this right now?
Let's do it.
Should we jump in? I'm going to go Ryan O'Hearn over 1.5 hits in this game, +215 to see Mr. Bro Hearn stay hot here. So I'm going to ride with him on that over 1.5 hits. If you wanted to combine that with Cedric Mullins getting a couple knocks, Zach, that's +800 odds. So if Ryan O'Hearn has 2 hits and Cedric Mullins has 2 hits, it would be 100 pays out 808. How about that?
Very nice.
Again, very tough matchup, though, by the way. But if you're feeling frisky and you feel like the Orioles need to get something going, roll with me or roll with Zach. Freddie Freeman has been on it so far this year. Now let's jump into a little bit more conversations about baseball. And the first one being revisiting free agents. I think everyone's talked about how, wait a minute, you got to spend. And I agree. Spending money does help. Signing players does help. Extending your own, that does help. But Zach, I think one thing that gets overlooked is it's not about how much you spend. It's who you spend it on. And clearly there's an unpredictability to all of this. So I want to pull up this list courtesy of Spot Track right here, because I initially want to paint the picture of what's going on with some of these big contracts. And then, Zach, we're to give our top 5 or 6 best free agent signings so far throughout the first month plus, right?
Yeah.
So just so you guys can see this list as we get into this, so you guys understand the context. Juan Soto obviously is at the top of that list. Corbin Burns, Blake Snell, Willie Adames. So many players that have been paid that maybe aren't living up to the standards. Juan Soto, I believe it's going to work out for him, but is he worth that money right now? Will he ever be worth the $765? We'll find out. But values for players that we're going to talk about. And Zach, who should we start with first?
For players? I mean,
yeah.
If we're going to talk about the top guys, I feel like maybe we start with, let's go with the guys in New York because it directly impacts the Orioles.
Let's do that. Let's start with the guy that's near the top of that list, Max Fried. If we're going to talk about money well spent so far, and yeah, you had to pay a premium to get Max Fried. He has been sensational so far for the New York Yankees. 6-0, Zach. 1.01 ERA, 39 strikeouts, 11 walks. He has been by far, of all those upper echelon players that you could have had this offseason, number one, and it's not even close when you're looking at that. 1.01 ERA, 44 and 2/3 innings, and only 11 walks in those 44 and 2/3 innings. I don't know what's more impressive, Zach, if we're looking at the sense that he has that ERA and those numbers, or if you really break it down that he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs the entire season, and he's only failed to pitch into the 6th inning once this year, and it was opening day against the Milwaukee Brewers, where he gave up 6 runs, only 2 earned, was the reason why he wasn't able to go deeper into the game.
Yeah. I mean, Max Fried has been everything that New York had hoped for and more. I mean, especially I add in the end more because he was brought in to kind of be in that dominant rotation with Garrett Cole in them, and then Garrett Cole goes down. Obviously, Luis Gil goes down. You no longer have Nestor Cortez. So he became the ace. Carlos Rodon's been great this year for them. But Max Fried, it went from, hey, you're this big addition to help take us to that next level, to now you are replacing Garrett Cole. You have to replicate those numbers, and he's doing better than Garrett Cole was last year. I mean, he has been incredible. He's the signing of the offseason.
Signing of the offseason by far. Let's stay with the Yankees one more time, and maybe a player that people weren't expecting to get back to that all-star MVP caliber level, and it's still early. But Paul Goldschmidt right now, Zach, seems like an absolute steal for the New York Yankees. 1 year, $12.5 million. He's hitting .353. That's second best in all of baseball. Yes, only has 3 home runs, but has driven in 17 RBIs, has an OPS north of 880 at actually 881. So Paul Goldschmidt, for me, he obviously has been a big part of this, and we can look at the money being spent. But for a 1-year deal, bringing in a guy that you had question marks, he's really settled into New York well, and has been a very big compliment to that offense that already has the best hitter in all of baseball in Aaron Judge.
He hit 244 or 245 last year and 268 the year before, and he's batting 353 now. Paul,
are you going to be okay?
No, I'll be okay, maybe. But here's where it's annoying, because this is one of those classic, like, Yankees revived an old legend type thing, because let's put it out, since 2011, Paul Goldschmidt, I think could be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, this is a guy that has been, MVP, people forget MVP. Like, he's won MVPs. He goes to New York after having a disappointing final 2 years in St. Louis, not only with his stats, but just kind of the team as a whole. With Arenado and them, they thought they were going to build something a little bit better. Kind of a failure of the past 2 seasons. Goes to New York, and I mean, he has, in a lot of ways, outside of Aaron Judge, if it was not for Paul Goldschmidt, the New York Yankees would possibly not be in a great spot. I mean, they've got guys struggling. I mean, they are not world beaters at 19 and 16. I mean, 3 games above 500.
They have a guy hitting 400.
You have a guy who, I mean, you
gets
saw
a hit.
I was going to say batting 500 on balls put in play. Anytime
the ball's put in play,
he's on 50.
Half the time he's getting on base.
And like I've said before, when we talk about Aaron Judge, you're lucky if that getting on base is him staying on first, because a lot of times it's a fan now has a souvenir. So, I mean, those two together have been all right. I'm going to watch how I word this. This is early. I am not saying that these people are on the same caliber at this point in their careers. Paul Goldschmidt, at this moment early on in this year, has been massive for them, seamlessly going or moving on from Juan Soto, because you still had that guy now who has been batting 353 through the first 35 games, through the first 133 at bats. It is massive when you have a guy with the 400 on base percentage that can still hit around Aaron Judge like they had Juan Soto last year. Get guys on for him. If he gets on, drive him in. So that has been probably, I know we said Max Fried has been the signing of the offseason for probably Major League Baseball. Talk about a guy coming in and just dominating. Paul Goldschmidt's been insanely important to New York.
No doubt about it. And we can talk about value all we want. Goldschmidt, it's a great value for what their team is. And again, this is the way too early way of free agency, but how it's played out for the first month plus we wanted to recognize two of those players, and Max Fried on the pricey side, Goldschmidt on the value side. Now we have a few more players that we wanted to mention right here. And again, if you're new to that channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. Do this live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But how about this? Let's go two players where they were moderately priced, where, hey, you had to pay somewhat of a premium to get them. But when you look at their value and what they're doing, Zach, it's been off the charts. Let's talk about another big bat in New York. How about Pete Alonso, who thought he was going to get the big payday, and he ends up signing for 2 years, $54 million with the chance to opt out. And Pete Alonso, the polar bear dude, he might be the most impressive hitter outside of Aaron Judge right now with what's happening with the Mets. Currently hitting .349, 9 home runs, 33 RBIs at this point in time.
That opt-out's looking real good.
Oh, my goodness. And he's got 13 doubles. For context, last year he played every single game for the New York Mets. Had 31 doubles and 34 home runs. Through 36 games, he already has 9 home runs and 13 doubles. He's almost halfway there to the doubles, and he's not even a quarter of the way there for the games this year. Crazy to think, but that signing for the Mets has been phenomenal. Pete Alonso is third in average, second in OPS in all of baseball, and second in RBIs.
I mean, you want to talk about a guy turning it around to start the season. Last year, obviously, a little bit of a struggle for Pete. Had a 2.6 WAR for batting over the entire, like you said, all 162 last year. Through 36 games this year, he has a 2.4. He is 0.2 away in his batting WAR from matching last season. I mean, just what a start to the year. Like you said, this is 33 RBIs. He's on pace to shatter and a triple already, just because.
Why not?
Just because. Might as well just throw it in there. 45 hits already. This guy is, like I said, I mean, you look at OPS 1.143.
Balling.
It might not. I know Mets fans are going to want him there long term still. I can tell you right now, if this keeps up, Pete Alonso is going back to free agency.
And you know what? I would too. I would
much.
too. A guy that's not going to have that chance for next year. But again, this isn't the market size of good value, but had to pay a little bit, give a little bit more money to. So we just had Pete Alonso 2 years, $54 million. Let's jump to a pitcher that signed for $55 million over 4 years. So under $15 million a year, Zach, Nick Pivetta. And we're talking about who could have fit in for value in places. Well, guess what? Not a lot of people were really excited about a signing of Nick Pivetta. But I'll tell you what, you know who's loving them some Nick Pivetta?
San Diego.
San Diego is Nick Pivetta right now is a 2.01 ERA, 40 innings pitched, 44 Ks to 12 walks. He's 5-1 on the season and already has a WAR this year of 1.6, and all of last year in Boston pitching 27 games, he had a 1.8. I think the point of this whole thing, Zach, is that value is not always in the highest free agents. You got to find where guys can have a good opportunity to prove themselves. Nick Pivetta is proving that in a place where San Diego, it's fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of belief. They got a good culture set there. And Nick Pivetta is proving why he can be a very valuable piece here. And he was a guy that actually, I was with him in the Nationals organization, never got to be his teammate. There's a reason why he was a prospect back then.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that does have the ability so far off to the best start of his career.
Yeah. I mean, Nick Pivetta, he was one of those underrated guys where if you talk to Boston fans, they always told you that, like, yeah, maybe the numbers don't always show it, but Nick Pivetta's got stuff.
He's got stuff,
like,
man.
He's a guy that can go out there and win you ball games. I don't know what it is about the Padres. First we had Michael King last year. Now Nick Pivetta. Something's in the water in San Diego, and they are getting the most out of these pitchers. What an incredible value signing right now. I mean, 2.01 ERA, like you said, 5-1. I mean, this guy, he's been incredible so far this season for them. Literally, there's getting everything you've hoped for and then getting more than what you hoped for. And usually if you're paying less than 15 mil for a pitcher a year, you're not expecting 5-1 with the 2.01 ERA, but I'll tell you, they'll sure as hell take it.
Oh, damn right they will. And the Padres off to a phenomenal start and had a game that they stole in the Bronx on Monday night. We'll talk about that in a second. Manny, Xander, two former AL East opponents.
Still got that hate in their heart for New York.
Yeah, they still got it. They're doing the good deed for O's fans and Sox fans. But two other players we wanted to comment on right here. And this is where the value, and this is what we're saying. You don't know what's going to pan out, but right now you're seeing extreme value. First pitcher, Jose Quintana, right now signed a 1-year deal, Zach, with the Milwaukee Brewers. 1-year deal for $4 million. And so far, he's off to a 4-1 start and a 2.83 ERA. Look, we can look at all the options, and there was a ton of pitchers, starting pitchers, that were signed to bigger deals. And I'm not saying it's going to pay out, but it's just good context. Quintana has been worth that price so far and a whole lot more for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah. And I mean, this was a guy that, I'll be honest, in limited time with New York in 23 and 24, I mean, he had a 3.57 ERA in 23, had a 3.75 ERA through 31 games last year. I was kind of shocked. I understand the age factor with them being 36. Teams didn't want to spend a lot, although it's funny, we saw multiple 35-year-olds get, or 41-year-olds get $15 million. So you would think that maybe a 36-year-old would get a little bit more, but he has been incredible. And, you know, it puts the Brewers in a good spot because, you know, as they're trying to figure out their season, he could be a guy that, you know, the 1-year deal, you just flip him for something at the deadline, or he is the guy that you know, down the long haul with, down the season. He's been everything they could have, you know, hoped for, but it's not a surprise. I'm going to stick with this. I don't think it's a surprise. You know, he has a 2.83 ERA, is a little better, but he 3.75 the year before, 3.57 the year before that. With two teams in 2022, Pittsburgh and St. Louis, he had a 2.93 ERA. This is a good pitcher. This is a very good pitcher that I don't know how he fell through the cracks like this, to be honest.
And again, things can change in a couple months, but so far these players have helped their teams get off to great starts. And the last player on this list, we're talking about value. And you know what? I'm kind of shocked that a team that has done well with two free agents so far, the Yankees, they let this guy go or didn't give him a chance to bring him back. And that is Tommy Conley right now on the Detroit Tigers. If you guys haven't been watching him, he arguably might be the best reliever in baseball, Zach. If not the best, he's one of the best. I'm not going to say he's the best on a stuff size, but what he's doing in Detroit has been spectacular. And the Detroit Tigers, man, they have been a wagon so far this season, and their pitching staff and their bullpen has been sensational. They have the best record in the American League at 22-13. And Tommy Conley right now at this moment, if I pull this up correctly, where is it? Come on. I just had it. And why do I do this to myself? Get on back here. They're right here. 0.71 ERA so far this year.
Across 12 games. 12.2 innings.
0.71. And look, there's a lot of time that can be said here with Tommy, right? And who knows what that's going to lead to. But he's already has 5 saves on the season, Zach. He's got 2 holds as well. And I just love the fact that you're seeing a guy go out there and pitch his ass off. And the point being, it doesn't always have to be the most money you spend with the guy. It's about trying to get a player that fits what you're doing and in a good situation, in a good spot, can allow them to have success. Those 6 players that we've mentioned are all off to fantastic starts. We'll revisit this again in June to see where that list is going. Missing anything else from there?
Honorable mention, Gavin Sheets. Incredible signing, Padres. You know,
I would argue that Gavin Sheets and the Padres would not be where they are without him. Hitting 278, by the way.
Yeah, 4
home runs,
14 ribbies.
I didn't want to put that pressure on Gavin, I'll be honest. because like if anything goes wrong, you know who's going to call me and blame me for all this crap. But Gavin, for the even context, it's a 1 year, $1.6 million deal for our guy Gav.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you the value of players. It's not about how much you spend. It's about getting the right player with the right fit. So how about that? Well, Zach, appreciate you and appreciate each and every one of you. And as we get ready to wrap up the show, we got one more subject to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked about the New York Yankees have some good players on their team, but right now the American League East, it's not the prettiest.
No.
Currently, there's only one team over 500.
Mm-hmm.
That could change tonight. Boston is 18-18. The Yankees are 19-16. That leads the division. The Orioles are in dead last at 13-20, but only 5 games back. 4 of the 5 teams have been losers of 6 of their last 10. The Tampa Bay Rays are the only team that have won 6 of their last 10. And they're a team that people didn't have as much expectations. But, Zach, with expectations comes a lot of stress, comes a lot of pressure. And I think we need to talk about one of the hot stories has been around the mental side of the game. We've talked about it in Baltimore, but one of those stories that continues to come to fruition is the situation that's happened with Devin Williams and the New York Yankees and the closer spot being taken out of the role. We had John Smoltz on, Hall of Fame pitcher, and we know the talent that John Smoltz had. But what we appreciated even more was his take on the mental side of the game. So we're going to play that clip and we're going to react to it on the other side of what it kind of means to this discussion with Devin Williams. Being the superstars for whatever reasons, because they're not able to get past that human element or get out of their own head, so to speak.
Well, I think, as we look at computers, viruses can get in a computer, and if you don't get it out, computer's not going to work. And your mind works the same way. We go into slumps, and no one talks about the mental slumps that people go into that are real. And no one wanted to talk about it. I became kind of the poster child for an over-exaggerated scenario. Like no one was laying me on a couch and had a watch and was TikTok, and it was none of that. He wasn't transforming into a pitcher I never could be. It was getting me back to the pitcher I always was. And what happens in sports, and I do this in golf now all the time, I'll tell my caddy, don't ever tell me, do not tell me where not to hit it. Because your brain doesn't conceivably understand. If you say, don't hit it left, your brain thinks about left. It hit it left. It doesn't process don't. So everything that I did from that point on was a positive command on the mound. And I would work off of those mental strengths, because I was always mentally tougher than anybody in my age group, because I wanted to be. But then when you get in that slump, you figure like, what's going on? And then you start working the word don't hang a slider. Well, you're going to hang a slider. I tell my catchers, if you want the ball down, tell me bury it down. Give me a command. Don't give me, hey, don't hang this pitch. So I think a lot of those things served me well for not only pitching the 3 biggest games of my life, but what I didn't tell you is that I prepared my whole upbringing of pitching in Game 7s. I pitched a Game 7 every day outside my house with a rubber ball and a wall. I tell people all the time that I created my own palace of like, this is what it's going to be like. And I'm not into like, if, you create it, it'll always happen. But if you do not think it, you're never going to believe it. If you don't believe it, you never dream it.
So right there, the mental side, being prepared. And if you're not in a good mental state, whatever you're telling yourself or whatever added pressures you're putting into the moment that's going to impact your results, you're going to have struggles. And Zach, I'm seeing that with Devin Williams, to be honest. Devin Williams is a guy who is one of the most coveted trade pieces this offseason. The Yankees get him. And he got off to a okay start for the most part, but then after his 3 outings, he had that blow-up game against the Tigers. And then it looked like the ship was back on track, righted the ship. He had some really good outings, including consecutive saves and back-to-back-to-back outings that he went out there. The problem is that he reverted back to other ways, and then pressure started to mount. And then it mounted so much, and the results kept struggling that they removed Devin Williams from the closing role. So the reason I want to talk about this is why last night The Yankees, once again, leading late in the game. They have a comeback now. It wasn't just Devin Williams. Luke Weaver came in and gave up the business, and the Padres stormed back and shocked the Yankees in the Bronx. But Zach, Devin Williams, when you look at his stuff and you're looking at all the analytics, there's nothing really that's jumping out a ton. Yes, fastball velo is a little bit down from last year, but he's still throwing the same pitches he threw last year. The percentage of how much he's thrown it is about the same. The biggest difference for me is more of that mental side. It looks like a guy that's come to New York that has had struggles, and I feel like it's become more of a mental issue for Devin Williams than anything else. And it's not the only thing with players going to New York, Zach. We have heard other players talk about being able to handle the harsher environments, and the Yankees is one of those environments without a doubt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how many times have we talked about people not being able to perform in New York? I mean, hell, every time the Yankees make a big free agent signing, big or small, it's okay. Well, they'll be able to perform in New York because those boo birds come out fast. That we are on May 6th. Remember, just a month ago, Devin Williams was the savior of the Yankees. He was the big closer they needed. He was the missing piece. It was World Series or bust. I'm seeing tweets from Yankees reporters, content creators saying they better never see Devin Williams play again for the New York Yankees. Did you not just give up Nestor Cortez for him? Did you not give up assets to go get this guy to be that missing piece, to be that back end piece? I understand he's not doing well, but if you mentally cannot handle New York will eat you up and spit you out. This is not the city to be, getting okay, he'll figure it out. They don't care if you figure it out. They need it done now and ASAP. So I'm going to say this. I think Devin Williams is a damn good pitcher. I don't think, like you said, when you look up his metrics and everything, he's still, he's still, nothing much has changed. It's all mental. It's got to be, because you can see it on his face after games when he's sitting in dugouts. You can see it when he's on the mound. It just seems like something right now mentally he doesn't feel like he has it. And it's weird to go back and kind of see him lose that confidence, because like you said, when he started this season out, he had a decent stretch at one point where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he had 5 games in a row where he wasn't giving up runs. 6 of 7. So he started out decently, but the wheels, when they fall off, they can fall off fast. And in a place like New York, if you can't figure it out quickly, things can start to spiral because they are not going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
And for context here, for his sample size, now 3 of these 5 years, he only pitched no more than 27 innings in 2 of the years. But both those years, last year he had a 1.25 ERA, and the other year in 2020, COVID year, he had a 0.33. Those other 3 years mixed in, Zach, of the full seasons, 2.50 ERA, 1.93, 1.53. So you're looking at a guy's sample size of going, dude, he's got it.
Yep.
There's nothing that I'm seeing out there that goes, man, he lost it. But here was a quote from Aaron Boone after the game last night against the Padres, the first game of that, or the Monday night game. Because I think the biggest thing is command and being ahead and not putting guys on. The stuff is there. The stuff's fine. And I do believe he'll get on a roll and be lights out and dominant, but it's just the command part of it, where walks or getting behind in certain situations have hurt him a little bit. So you're hearing right there, Aaron Boone is acknowledging the stuff looks good. But when your command's off, you can say it's mechanical more times than not. Yeah, it's mechanical, but it's also you're not doing what you need to do from a mental standpoint to be in that position. And then things can snowball. And think about everything that you deal with in life. When I try to put the baseball side into the everyday life, Zach, you ever gone down a rabbit hole of thoughts? One thing leads to another. And you go, how the hell did I get here? You got to battle that every single day when you play baseball, especially when you're in the big leagues, and especially when you're in New York, where you are going to be praised when you do well. And as soon as you don't, they're going to let you know. And the one phrase that I continue to go back to, Zach, what is it that Joe Torre always would say? And I say it all the time.
Long way to go.
That too. But can't measure a player's heartbeat.
That too.
Joe Torre definitely said long way to go as well.
At some point he did.
Yep, definitely. We'll quote him on that eventually when we talk to him. But for Devin Williams and the Yankees, is it causing problems right now? Absolutely. Is it correctable? Yes.
You hope. And that's why I say you hope, because is it correctable for him as a player? Yeah. I don't know if it's in New York. That's on the unfortunate side of, how that kind of pressure that builds there is. If he gets in that rabbit hole, that's not an easy place to dig yourself out of. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many guys have we seen where, hell, Joey Gallo talks about every time, he's like, I wish I would have never went to New York. He was like, that was horrible. He was like, even when I was playing well, it's just, it's different there. You see so many guys, Aaron Hicks, guys that go there and then suddenly it's all a mental thing. They can't fully get right mentally with the pressure of it. And, some guys can, some guys can't. I think that is, but, quick final point. I mean, yeah, he pitched 22 games last year, 21.2 innings, had a 1.25 ERA. He had 11 walks total this year. Like you said, through just how many innings? 11.2, so just under half. He's got 10. So he's the walks are killing him. And if you let guys on base, it's going like last night. The walk leads to the wheels coming off, and the next thing you know, the Padres steal one.
And he's given up 13 runs this year, earned runs. He's given up 13 in the last 2 years combined.
Yeah.
I'm buying the talent, but right now, when you're not right mentally, it's hard for the talent to shine through. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show, do this live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right here on YouTube and on X. A lot of baseball talk. We do have our Cooking with Kyle segment in the Iron Rooster tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. We might have a sneak peek of potential executive that's going to sit down with us before the show, talk a little bit about what's going on with the Baltimore Orioles. Maybe. And a whole lot of other things, including then our fitness segment with Merit Clubs. And Merit Clubs, we appreciate you. They got the big old sign behind here. We have the code right there. If you are looking for 2 weeks free, one more time for the one time, check out RIP25, 2 weeks free, Merit Club. Maybe you come hang out with us. We're going to be doing a show over there soon. The pools are open in here for the weekends. And then as the summer rolls in, they'll be open all the time. But May's here. It's going to be a great time. Appreciate everyone over there at Merritt's. And one more time, if I can pull up the link over or under, Zach. 4 seconds. 4.
I'll go under.
4, 2, 1. Got it right there. How about that?
There it is.
Can't even make it up how good that is. Zach, before we get out of here, though, like every Tuesday, we kind of have to know what has been on your browsing history here this week or this past weekend.
I found one of the cooler things I've ever seen. I did not even realize that this was actually a thing until I found it. But we have glow-in-the-dark baseball now. I don't.
Wait a minute. Is this?
This is real. This is unbelievable. They have a bunch of teams in this league.
How hard are they throwing?
Well, the ball is very, as you can see right here. I'm trying to find where you see the pitch come in. I mean, you see that there's the ball. I mean, ball's right. That's the ball. That little line right there. That ball is.
I'm really fascinated on this. Is there any other context to this?
Yeah, let me find it real fast. So it is the Tri-City Chili Peppers are the team. And oh my gosh, wait, hold up. I got to share this. Their Twitter is unbelievable. First, I mean, we got
I don't know how I'd feel about facing this.
This would be tough. This would be really tough. I mean,
I want to try it out, but I am really curious on, can you read the spin well? Like, okay, if you see a fastball, that's fine. But could you read the spin very well, or are you just going to wear it if it's a slider that you don't see very quickly?
I know. This is
The merch I like the merch.
I guess they signed a pair of former big leaguers. But yeah, this is guess new website, chilipeppersbaseball.com. Cosmic Lottery.
And Stack did nailed it.
Yeah. This is
Good kid, Stack. Yep. You're a good kid.
Yep. That's cool. I had never seen that before. I did not know that was like I'd seen like random videos and stuff of like, the glow in the dark. I'd never seen it being played in a stadium, and like the stadium is also like a bunch of glow in the dark stuff. But like you said, I would love to see. I feel like a pitcher is in a big advantage there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like I'd want to pitch. I want to see if I can pitch.
Yeah. I mean, you get a little spin on that. I don't know unless they, like you said, with the laces, I don't know where. How do you read? Like it's just a blob of.
I wonder
color.
if we make this studio glow in the dark one time, and we do dodgeball in here.
Dodgeball, that would be fun.
We have a
lot of room. We could do some dodgeball in here,
and we can get these light fly balls. I haven't even told you about some of my dodgeball stories from a kid. Oh, they're up there. But I honestly think, what would the teams be? I don't think it'd be fair.
It depends on how many people we had.
If it was just our group and we're picking, who's the last pick? Kevin or Rocco?
Oh,
Rocco.
Yeah.
I think Kevin has a little fight in him.
Kevin has a little fight in him, and also that's a tiny target to hit.
Yeah, it's hard. He can hide.
Yeah, like if he can get a little jiggy with it, like if he gets an open field, I don't know if
I'm not worried about the arm for Kevin, but he can hide away and can go and get the balls. Yeah. Rocco, Mr. Upper Body, all upper body. I don't know. I don't think I've never seen him throw anything. I haven't seen a throwing motion out of him. I don't think it's going to have a lot of arm action. I think he might be more of a liability than anything else.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't pick Rocco on my team. I just don't think it would be. He would just halfway through. I would want to eliminate him myself. I think.
I don't think I want. I can't put Rocco on my team. No. I'd want to use him as a target. Yeah. So we're in agreement on that.
I think Rocco's just on his own team.
Yeah, well, that's obvious.
Yeah, it's 1v2 for him.
Yeah. Oh, he's done that. No doubt about it. Joe, Kelly, we're planning to try to get Thursday. Had to get delayed a couple times, but Kelly's going to be a regular coming up. We'll have a little conversations with Kelly, and I'm a little bit afraid. I'm a little bit terrified of what that could entail for both the stories that can be told about me and that's mainly it. I'm a little bit more worried about that, to be honest, of what stories can be about me. And Joe Collins are not dead. And also, by the way, happy belated birthday to Joe.
Yeah, happy belated birthday, Joe.
Hogs, man.
Yeah, swept the #1 team.
How about the Hogs? It's about time they did something. But hope you had a good birthday, Joe. We will have call-ins. We're looking probably will be Thursday. Just with all the work schedule and what we try to get through. It's a whole lot, but it's not dead, and it's definitely not dead over there on Kevin and Zach Reaction. You guys have that every night.
Every night. Come check it out.
Come check it out. Am I missing anything for the rest of the show? Did we wrap all the things that we wanted to hit?
Yeah,
left and right?
I think we hit everything pretty well.
Cool. Maybe right after this, I might do a little quick pop a shot to decide what's going to happen here. Can do that for the Holy Shirts and Pants, and let her kind of rock and roll here. Oh, and yes, tomorrow, Cooking with Kyle, Iron Rooster. And if you stayed this long to listen, we might be interviewing Mike Elias tomorrow before the show. And you guys can hear it first live here on the Ryan Ripken Show. A little bit more about than maybe what you've already heard around the other ways. I like to think that we get a lot out of our guests.
I do too. I think it's going to be good.
So we will see. Yeah, you know what? We don't need to see the baby photos at all. At Oh,
Yes, we do.
no, we don't. Okay. Cue the music. Cue it. Hum now. What now? As always, here on the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate each and every one of you. As always, have a day, have a night, have a great stinking rest of your Tuesday. We'll be back here cooking with Kyle and the Iron Rooster on Wednesday and a whole lot more. See you soon. Bum, bum.